Oh, we live.
We're about to be.
I'll move to my room once. And can you hear background noise pretty good here, or?
I can kind of hear it, but I'm going to mute this.
It's not too bad.
Well, we are live now for the NCAA tournament selection show. We'll see who tunes in here. I will go ahead and promote this on our social medias.
All over our platforms.
All over.
This game too close.
I can barely hear Jim Nance in your background. That's funny. I'm actually going to close.
Oh, are you watching the stream too?
I can hear your background noise just a little bit, but I'm watching. I'm live. I have an antenna. I'm guessing our YouTube stream's like 30 seconds to a minute behind.
Yeah, it was like 30 seconds behind when I clicked on your test stream.
Okay.
Do you have it up? Because can we see how many viewers we got?
Oh, we have none right now because I just posted on our social medias.
What did you title it as? Did you just title it as live reaction?
Live reaction to the NCAA tournament selection show. I've got it on Instagram and Twitter. Now I just got to get on Facebook.
Dang it, this game is too close. It's gotta.
All right, well, we are live now. We've got a couple people watching. So welcome into our live episode of the Y Ball Starters podcast. We are live for a very great day. We are coming up on the NCAA tournament selection show. I am here with my co-host, Kendall Krang. How are you doing today, Kendall?
Dude, I'm just excited to get this going. I'm hoping that this Ohio State Illinois game finishes up already.
Yeah, it's in overtime. The Big Ten tournament championship has gone to overtime, so we'll see if that. Right now, we're um, supposed to go to the selection show at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so hopefully that keeps up. But we'll keep you live. And as a PNW Hoops podcast, we're pretty psyched that we're going to have 4 teams going to be in the bracket today. So Gonzaga, Eastern Washington, Oregon, Oregon State. What team are you most interested, Kendall, to see where they end up in that?
I think I'm actually most interested in Oregon State just because that was the team that none of us in our podcast were expecting to make the tournament. So
no, I don't think anyone was.
I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly where they fall, who their matchup is. The way that they played through the Pac-12 tournament, though, I think that they have a shot to win the first game, round of 64, depending on who they play, and possibly even give, if they end up a 12 or 11 seed, like a lot of analysis are predicting. Who knows? Maybe they could pull off a second upset. We'll see.
Yeah. And of course, as an Eastern alum, I of course want to see I think we have a realistic, if Eastern Washington gets a draw that's, has an outside chance at an upset. I think it depends. It's sounding from what I'm hearing, it's pretty likely that Eastern's going to be a 14 seed. So it just depends on what 3 seed they're going to get. There's some.
What type of team would you like to see them play, Drew?
I think like an Arkansas. I'm not really sold on Arkansas at all, and they're projected to possibly be a 3 seed. However, if they were to get a team like, if Oklahoma State or Texas, I really wouldn't see much of a path of victory as much as I love Eastern. I think I don't see anyone that can stop Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State's athleticism. So I think Eastern's upset chances are very much dependent on which 3 seed they get and who the committee decides to put as a 3 seed or a 2 seed, because there is some debate over that as well. So long-winded answer of saying I am interested to see where Eastern ends up, just so I can kind of gauge whether they have, a real chance at an upset or not.
I'm curious to see, too, the differential in seeding between Oregon and Oregon State, since Oregon did win the regular season and Oregon State wins the conference tournament. How are they going to fall in there? Because I've seen Oregon as low as a 7 seed again. I think that's insane, honestly.
Well, we have a question from Richard Charles in our chat here. He asks, who do you all have for the number 1 seeds, and how sure are you all of them? Personally, I think that the 1 seeds at this point are a lock with how good Illinois has been. We know Gonzaga and Baylor are locks, and Illinois is looking like a lock. And then I still think Michigan is pretty set for that 4th 1 seed.
Yeah, them playing in the Big Ten being such a dominant conference this year with all the wins that they've got, Michigan's a lock-in. They only have 3 losses. It hurts them that Livers is out. I haven't kept up quite enough to know if he's going to be in or not come tournament time. I think that was still indefinite.
I think it's still pretty up in the air. I mean, stress fractures, that's not going to go away.
No.
It's just a question of, will he be able to and opt to play through it?
Right.
I think that really kind of makes or breaks Michigan's chances.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sold on them as a title contender, even though I do think that they're a 1 seed. And if Livers is out, I don't think that they have a realistic shot at a championship this year, personally.
Agreed. It'll be interesting to see what kind of 2 seeds and 3 seeds end up in their region as well, because there's some 2 and 3 seeds that I'm really not sold on at all.
I'm curious to see where Texas falls, just because of how the Big 12 tournament ended up yesterday. I want to see if Texas is a 2 seed possibly, or if they end up as the high 3 seed. I'm not really sure. It's funny looking at everybody's different brackets, because every site that you look at and every analyst is different in their predictions. So you don't really know until it's released.
Yeah. And Richard, to answer your next question there, no shot Houston gets a 1. Yeah, Michigan lost 3 of their last 5, but I still think the overall body of work, just them being in the Big Ten, which is the best conference. And Houston, I think actually, I my guess is that they give Houston the second 2 seed, I'm guessing they're going to give Alabama
Mm-hmm.
the top 2 seed just based on Alabama's winning the SEC championship today, just because the SEC is considered a overall more powerful conference in the American Conference. I personally am not sold on Alabama at all. And
I'm not
I'll be
either.
honest, I didn't watch much Houston this year until I watched today, and they looked really, really good. But I think just the difference of being in the Big Ten versus the American is what's going to give Michigan the edge there.
Grimes is really good for Houston. I would be same. I haven't watched quite enough of I haven't watched enough games to be consistently up as we follow more of the Pac-12 teams. But I know Grimes has been really good. They have a really solid defense there every year. I think that they can make. I think they can make a run.
Yeah. I think this year it's real. I think teams in a lot of ways are just going to be rooting to not get in to get into the 4th bracket, meaning teams that are projected to be a 2 or a 3 are hoping that they don't get Gonzaga, Baylor, or Illinois region.
Yeah.
Because
I think personally, I think any of those 3 1 seeds, those 3 teams could easily win the title. It could go either way between those 3.
Yeah. And I'll be pretty interested to see, going back to who we're most looking forward to seeing where they're going to be in terms of our PNW teams. I mean, we know Gonzaga is going to be number 1 overall, but I'm pretty interested to see who they draw as the number 2. With how well Ohio State's been playing today, I kind of wonder if the committee actually looks at this good performance by Ohio State, win or lose. Looks like Illinois shooting free throws with, Illinois just hit a free throw to go up 4. I think that I kind of wonder if Ohio State gets the third 2 seed, and then that leaves Iowa in Gonzaga's region.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
I wouldn't either. We've talked about that. I think Iowa's very boomer bust. And now it's looking, Ohio State misses a 3, down 5, and fouls Illinois. So now it's looking pretty solid for Illinois, barring a massive choke.
It's looking like we might actually get the selection show on time too.
We'll be close.
Hey man, we've waited for 2 years for this, so.
Oh no, it's been way too long.
It's been too long, man. I didn't really even. I mean, I knew that I missed it, but not until this last week of conference tournament starting and just the anticipation.
I will also I'll plug this throughout today's show, but we are going to be doing a Y-Ball Starters ESPN tournament challenge. So feel free to tune in. Kendall, where can folks find that to fill out their bracket once it comes out?
Yeah, so on ESPN, we've got our own tournament league on there. It's the Y-Ball Starters. Drew, do you have a link? Do you say you had a link posted in our Twitter, Instagram on our bio?
I'll put that up after the bracket comes out. I'll put that up on our socials.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if
you can also
it's Starters.
Yeah, and it is public.
Sorry,
so
I was just gonna say if you got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that delay.
The old delay, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow us at Y-Ball Starters on Instagram, Twitter, and then look in our bio there, and we'll post a link once the selection show is done, and come play tournament challenge with us, and if you win, we'll give you a big prize. We'll shout you out on our show.
Yeah, that'll be the prize, is a nice shout out on the podcast. We will also, once the bracket's revealed, be doing a Starters podcast where Kendall and I will kind of collab on a bracket, and we'll put that in there so you can see if you beat us, which there's probably a good chance you will, but we'll fill one out once we kind of see where our 4 Pacific Northwest teams are and kind of break down a little bit kind of some of the outlook for it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I just want to see some of the upset matchups. I think that there's going to be a lot of upsets in the tournament, personally,
I do
this
too.
year. I don't know how you feel on that, Drew, but yeah.
I agree. I think without knowing any of the bracket right now, some teams that I have my eye on for a potential upset. Actually, Northwest bias, sure, but Oregon State, with how on fire they are, um, I think has a good chance depending on their matchup. They're probably going to be a 12 or an 11 seed. In terms of some mid majors,
Hmm.
of course, I'm biased to Eastern as well. I'll see where they end up. But outside of the Northwest, I have my eye on the Winthrop Eagles. They were 23-1 this year, won the Big South.
Ooh.
Um, so they've obviously got a really good record. And depending on, they're kind of, I've seen them as a 12 or a 13. Those are always susceptible to some upsets. So I've got my eye on Winthrop. Who's a mid major you've got your eye on for a potential upset?
I was talking to Drew earlier about this. I have my eye on the Ohio Bobcats. And actually, earlier this year, they played Illinois down to the very last second. They actually had the lead for most of the game against Illinois, and Illinois came back and won the game. But they have this guard, Jason Preston, and he has had a fantastic year for Ohio. He's been averaging almost 17 points a game. He's been dishing out over 5 assists a game, I believe almost 5 rebounds a game. He's 6'4". Yeah, he's a 6'4" guard. So he's fairly big for a guard for at least a college game. So I
Yeah.
think Ohio, they've caused some havoc in the tournament before, back I think 8 or 10 years ago. So I'll be curious to see if they can maybe pull off an upset or two.
Another team that comes to mind for me, they're by, this is not a mid-major school, but they'll probably be a lower seed, but they always turn it up in the tournaments, Michigan State. Tom Izzo it's similar to over here in the Pacific Northwest with Dana Altman in Oregon. Tom Izzo just always has Michigan State at their best in the tournament. And if they're, say, a 10 seed and they get a favorable 7 seed and am able to win that, I could easily see Michigan State beating any of the 2 seeds, really, if they, of course they wouldn't be favored and it wouldn't be surprising if they lost, but that's a team I could see pulling a couple upsets.
Yeah, and I was surprised to see them lose so badly to Maryland
I was
in
too.
their first game in the Big Ten tournament. I wasn't expecting that. Usually, Tom Izzo has those guys coach, and it's not like they still have some experience on their team between Joshua Langford, Rocket Watts, and Aaron Henry. They have experience on their team, so I don't understand um, why they lost like that and why they're only 15-13 this year. I also don't follow them maybe closely enough to know if there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but just from a
Sure.
roster standpoint, I know those three were on their Final Four roster back from 2 seasons ago. So
Yeah. Yeah, and well, we're dragging out the end of this Big Ten championship game right now. It's 89-84 Illinois on top of Ohio State with 14.2 seconds left, and then after that, it'll finally be selection show.
who do you think are the teams from the bubble who end up getting whose bubble hopes to end up getting popped? I've been seeing a lot of talk about Drake, Wichita State, Syracuse has been on there, even UCLA I've seen.
I think UCLA's safe. Um, I don't think they're an absolute lock, but I think they've had a pretty good season, and also just the fact that they're a blue blood. Blue bloods do often get the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
Man, Ohio State misses a 3, but Illinois commits a loose ball foul with 5.1 seconds left. So this game will keep going.
Perfect.
But I think Wichita State is in trouble. I think Utah State's in trouble. Really, I think with the upsets of Oregon, the upset runs of Oregon State in the Pac-12 and Georgetown in the Big East really screwed over the Mountain West a lot.
Yeah, it did. Because I think that you would have seen both Utah State and Colorado State probably both be in. But I mean, there's nothing you could do when Georgetown
We'll
and Oregon
see.
State go on their conference tournament
Yeah,
runs.
really now San Diego State's the only lock in the conference, I believe.
Yeah, they are. Boise State, I know I've been a lock up there, but they kind of faltered down the stretch. I want to say that they lost 3 out of 4 or 4 or 5 is something along those lines down the stretch. So kind of ended with a thud.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a second Mountain West team, like either Utah State or Colorado State. At this point, my guess is that it would be more likely to be Utah State. But I think they're both in trouble. And I really think Wichita State is in trouble. Would guess, again, just going back to favoring those Power 5 teams, I would guess Syracuse is a little safer, but I by no means think they're a lock. I could easily still see Syracuse on the outside looking in.
The joke that I've seen going around on Twitter from Syracuse people is death, taxes, and Syracuse on the bubble are the 3 guaranteed things in life. So they're used to this position. I remember, what was it, 20? I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. I don't remember what year specifically, but they played in the play-in game as an 11 seed, and then they knocked off Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 that year, and they made it to the Final Four, where I think they lost to Duke that year. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, that's
but they've been there in this situation before.
Yeah.
I know that they made the Final Four that year. I just can't remember what team it was they played in the Final Four. But either way, though, Syracuse is used to being on the bubble, and they've thrived in it. They're a good coach team. I watched their game against Virginia, and they look good. Jim Boeheim's son is a good shooter, good player. So,
Buddy Boeheim. Yeah, I watched that game too, and obviously they took him down to the buzzer. Virginia hit a game-winning shot. Is 3.8 seconds left in the Big Ten. Illinois is shooting free throws to go up 6 now. So we are ever so close now that it's 3:05 p.m. This would be the wildest choke ever. If I think it's 91 to 85. Illinois on top. 3.8 seconds left. Both teams out of timeouts. And
I don't even
Ohio
think
State shoots a 3. They actually made the 3 at the buzzer, but doesn't matter. Illinois wins the Big Ten, 91 to 88. And we are moments away from the selection show. I'm sure because of corporate needs, CBS will probably go to commercial. But then we will get the ever satisfying selection show. Now the Big Ten tournament is finally over. But congrats to Illinois.
Congrats to Illinois. It was the way that they played down the stretch, they definitely deserved. Yeah, they deserved it. They were the best team down the stretch.
They're good. They're really, really good.
Yeah, they're
playing really better than Baylor.
I think the one thing. Although Baylor did Oklahoma State's just a tough team, though, man. I mean, when you got Cade Cunningham, when you have the number 1 projected pick on your team, and then you have other players like Avery Anderson stepping up for you, that's a tough ask.
That is. Well, as predicted, CBS did go to commercial, but then we will be on the selection show, and we'll get to see where Gonzaga, Oregon, Oregon State, and Eastern Washington land in this year's bracket. 4 out of the 8 college teams that we follow on the podcast fairly closely made the tournament, which is really fun.
That's fun. I wasn't expecting that. Did not see Oregon State coming. It's kind of funny because before the tournament, just seeing how Oregon State played against Oregon in the final game of the regular season, I was like, they've played good. They just beat USC back a couple weeks ago. They played good against Oregon. Oregon was just hot. Maybe they could get an upset. And then they started winning. I'm like, wait, no, stop. No, I didn't think you guys were going to make it that far.
Yeah. Yeah. What was funny is I don't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about like, okay, we're going to see Gonzaga and Oregon. Actually, it might have been the episode we were talking about what Pac-12 teams we think we're going to see in the tournament. We were like, it was before Oregon went on their little run. We were like, we're pretty sold on USC, UCLA, Colorado being in there. But probably Oregon because we thought they were going to go on a run. But I don't remember if it was John. I don't remember which one of us said it, but they're like, you'd have to convince me of anyone else. And we said the most likely to maybe go on a little run actually at the time was Washington State, but we still didn't think that was going to happen at all. Oregon State wasn't even in the conversation.
Well, Washington State, with their guard play having been so good, I really did think that they could win a game and even make a close game in the quarterfinals, but
I did too. I was surprised they lost to
yeah,
Arizona State.
I was surprised too. Or Arizona State really underachieved this year.
I will cut you off because it is time for the selection show.
Let's go.
And this is very thrilling.
Time.
It has been 2 years, and CBS is really drawing out this intro because they have to.
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little peeved that I can't watch it since you're ahead of me, so I'm just listening to the music through your mic. Yeah.
This is a very exciting time for college basketball fans after 2 years.
2 years. Did you think that we were going to make it this far for this year? Or did you think that there's a chance the season might not end this way?
I thought there would be a tournament just because of how much money the NCAA would lose not having it two years in a row. I thought it was going to happen. I wasn't sure that teams were going to get in this many games, and I thought it was going to. I wondered if they were going to maybe cut it down maybe to like 32 or 16 or.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, the NCAA had college basketball had as close to a normal season as it can have. It wasn't perfect. A lot of cancellations. Some teams having to drop out of their conference tournaments, and we'll see what happens going into the tournament because obviously no one's there safe yet, and it's not a true bubble, right. So something could happen. And it is official, the number 1 overall seed is Gonzaga, as Greg Gumbel is beginning to announce the regions. No really surprise there.
Nah.
And there's a live shot of Gonzaga finding out in their practice facility, which indicates they are still in Spokane. I actually wasn't sure whether they traveled to Indianapolis yet or not. But
that's
not yet.
Surprising that they're still in Spokane.
Yeah, so they are in the West region, and they will be playing, let's see, the winner of Norfolk State and Appalachian State.
Oh, okay. Isn't that Appalachian State's first time in the NCAA tournament?
I think in a while. I think it's the first time in a while. Yeah. So good story there. Good story there either way. Norfolk State was the team that beat number 2 Mizzou all those years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the Pressey brothers when they were playing there?
And it looks like Gonzaga will be playing on Saturday. They will be playing the winner of the 8th seed is Oklahoma.
They kind of faltered down the stretch.
They did a little bit. They're 15-10. So Oklahoma will be playing the number 9 seed, Missouri. So speak of Missouri.
Oh, well, there we go.
There you have Gonzaga, if they're able to get past Norfolk or Appalachian State, will be playing the winner of Oklahoma and Missouri in the round of 32.
I am glad that that's who the 8 and 9 seed was. I was a little worried North Carolina could fall into the 8 there, and that's not a team necessarily I'd want to play.
Right.
Just because they still got talent.
No kidding.
That's
here's the number 5 and 12.
Those are
sorry to cut you off. Number 5 and 12, we've got Creighton against UC Santa Barbara. UC Santa Barbara, potential upset there, honestly.
Yeah, I think so.
All these top games are on Saturday, and the 4 seed, like Joe Lunardi's looking pretty good right now. The 4 seed is Virginia.
Oh, okay. Maybe a potential Sweet 16 rematch from earlier.
Sweet 16 rematch, yeah. I think I'd probably pick that at this point.
Yeah, so far. We'll see what the 13 is.
Well, the 13 seed is, in fact, the Ohio Bobcats.
Nope, never mind. It's not going to be Virginia. Looks like Gonzaga's playing Ohio.
Well, here's our first Pac-12 appearance. USC will be the 6th seed in Gonzaga's West region.
Okay.
And they will be taking on the winner. Wichita State gets in and they will be playing Drake. So there's 2 of those last 4 teams. Wichita State and Drake get in. They're 2 of the last 4 teams in. Now the Mountain West is really sweating, and so is Syracuse.
Yeah, Syracuse too. Syracuse and the Mountain West teams.
The number 3 seed will be Kansas. Lenardi has almost nailed this so far. This is really, really impressive. And there are the Eastern Washington Eagles. They will be taking on the Kansas Jayhawks as the 14th seed in the West region. And then right beneath that, the 7th seed is the Oregon Ducks. So here come all our teams right away. And Oregon will be taking on the 10 seed VCU. So we got to just rapid react to all of this real quick. VCU, the 10 seed, runner up in the Atlantic 10. They lost to St. Bonaventure today.
I feel good about that.
And then the 2 seed, like I just predicted, is Iowa. So Gonzaga,
yes.
If I'm Gonzaga, I'm okay with this region. I'm very okay with this region.
Yeah.
Man, a potential.
That was.
And Iowa will be taking on Grand Canyon. So, yeah, we'll have to get some talking points on that in an upcoming episode of the Y-Ball Starters.
I'm very much looking forward to discussing a little bit. So, what's kind of your rapid take, really quick, of that?
That is about as good as you. That is about as good as you could expect if you're Gonzaga. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very favorable for them.
Very favorable. You got Kansas. You got Iowa's a 2. You got, we hype up all our 4 Pacific Northwest teams, and then 3 of them go right away. And Hassan. We have a question from Hassan Cosme. He asks if we can go over the regions in order during the commercial after they announce them as a recap. So just to kind of recap a little bit. So I'll have to pull this up on Twitter a little bit. So you've got Appalachian State against Norfolk State to take on Gonzaga as a 16 seed. The 8 and the 9 was Oklahoma and Missouri. 5-12, you've got Creighton and UC Santa Barbara, and then you've got Virginia and Ohio. You had USC and Wichita State Drake as a 6-11. Obviously, the 3 and 14 was Kansas and Eastern Washington, which I, as an Eastern fan and an alum, it's tough. We'll wait and see if David McCormick can play or not, because Kansas obviously had their COVID issues.
Yep, that's true.
The 7 and the 10 was Oregon and VCU. I think that's a pretty good matchup for Oregon. Looking at it early on,
and that's a good matchup for the second round too.
Another good, and then Iowa took on Grand Canyon out of the WAC. So this region's all on Saturday, so we'll see times and stuff, but I know what I'll be doing on Saturday. That's for sure.
I know what I'm going to be doing on Saturday too. I'm going to have to really multitask.
You are. Yeah, you that is going to, I have to work a little bit in the afternoon in my day job. So hopefully we'll see. I might have to headphone a little bit, be on the radio for quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the same. I'm going to be having to do the same a bit, but yeah, just off the top, I really like Oregon being able to get to the Sweet 16 based off that bracket. If Kansas is healthy, I hate to say it, but I think I'd have them going to the Sweet 16 as well.
I do too.
Man, I feel like Virginia. In all seriousness, Virginia probably, they're a little bit too well. Man, but they've lost though. I mean, they're the first 1 seed to get beat. I gotta stick to my guns on this. I gotta keep Ohio in there, but I guess I'd say Creighton to the Sweet 16 at that point.
Maybe with everything going on with their coach and stuff, I kind of wonder if they get beat by Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Which at that point, then with my predictions, I'd be a 12 and 13 seed. So I don't know.
4 seeds are teams that Gonzaga have beaten.
Yeah. And that's actually a good point that producer Josiah just made, is that
our producer
Josiah has the top 4 seeds outside of Gonzaga. So the 2, the 3, and the 4 are all teams that Gonzaga beat in the non-conference, being Iowa, Kansas, and Virginia. So Gonzaga is going to be looking at some rematches, assuming they can get to the Sweet 16, which I would be absolutely stunned if Gonzaga lost to either Oklahoma or Missouri there. I just don't think they don't have the firepower.
So.
Well, we're back in the South region, just like predicted. Baylor is the 1 seed. They'll be taking on Hartford out of the America East. I'm curious to see how Baylor looks. This region will be playing on Friday, it looks like. And there's the 8 seed that you were concerned about, North Carolina.
Yeah, glad it's not on Gonzaga's side.
Will be Baylor, and that's a good game. North Carolina will be taking on Wisconsin. That's a really good game out of the Big.
Ooh, that is a good game.
That's a
I
really
don't think Wisconsin's
game.
quite as good this year, but
yeah, there's the 5 seed Villanova. I'm not sold on Villanova.
Let's see who they're playing.
Let's see. It's the 5 seed. They will be taking on the Winthrop Eagles. I know where I'm going on that one. I very much know where I'm going on that one. There's my 12-5, one of my 12-5 upsets for sure.
Drew's a homer for anything Eagles.
I guess that's true. Except Philadelphia Eagles. Don't love them. The 4 seed is going to be Purdue, and they'll be taking on North Texas. So that's an interesting. I kind of like that road if I'm Baylor. The 6 seed, you got Texas Tech. We'll see how good Texas Tech really turns out to be. We'll see.
I'm not sold on them.
Not either. We'll see who they get in the 11. They'll be taking on Utah State is the 11 seed. And they are not in the Final Four. So that means Utah State got one of the last 4 byes.
Wow. Man, if I'm Syracuse, I'm not feeling good right now.
Do I feel great if I'm UCLA? That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, not UCLA either.
See. Yeah. Well, there's Arkansas as the 3 seed. There's another team I'm not super sold on. But we'll see. They could prove me wrong. They could prove me very wrong. Arkansas, the 3 seed in the South region. They will be taking on Colgate, who won the Patriot League today.
Yeah, I watched. Yeah, I don't know if their talent. I don't know. I don't know if they have the athletes to match up with Arkansas from what I was watching today.
Early on, just my immediate reaction, I think there's a solid Texas Tech Sweet 16 run there, possibly.
Could you repeat who they'd be playing?
Texas Tech would be playing Arkansas in the second round. If Arkansas beats Colgate, Texas Tech will be playing Utah State. And then the 7 seed they just announced is Florida against the 10 seed Virginia Tech.
Not going to lie, that matchup does not have much intrigue for me. I don't think either of those teams.
Me neither.
Nah.
Again, this region will be playing on Friday. Gonzaga's West region will be playing on Saturday. And there's the 2 seed in Baylor's region, Ohio State, who just lost the Big Ten championship today, but they're still on the 2 line.
That's tough. I think that I like Ohio State and Baylor. Just instant reaction going to the Elite 8.
I very much do. I think I probably would take Texas Tech to the Sweet 16. And Ohio State will be taking on Oral Roberts. So, yeah, I definitely like that region to go fairly chalk. I think Arkansas gets knocked off by Texas Tech. And I could see some 4-13, 5-12 upsets potentially. But at the top, I definitely see that going pretty chalk in that region.
Yeah, I think once it gets to the Sweet 16, I think that's fairly chalk. I think Baylor and Ohio State are far superior.
Yeah. Yep, agreed. Let me pull up the South region real quick just to run a little recap. Again, you got Baylor as the 1. You got Ohio State as the 2. North Carolina, Wisconsin is a really interesting 8-9 matchup to me. Just instant reaction.
Yeah, that's a good game. That's a good game.
You got Arkansas taking on Colgate. Texas Tech playing Utah State. That's interesting that Utah State got in, and you got Purdue, North Texas in the 4-13. I think Purdue probably wins that. And then I've got Villanova, Winthrop, which I actually take Winthrop in the upset on that. Is that really? Winthrop's 23-1, and Villanova is down Colin Gillespie.
Yeah, I think they got Justin Moore back. I want to say for the conference tournament. I think
it sounds right, but I'll have to look that up for sure. I think even with Justin Moore, I think I take Winthrop. I think Winthrop's a good team. I'll probably
anytime you only lose one game throughout the year, you're just hard betting against Jay Wright in the first round.
Yeah, it's fair. I've said it before already, but I think the only real second round upset I would see, I think Texas Tech beats Arkansas. Early reaction to get to the Sweet 16.
Well-coached team. Chris Beard always has his team up. They've been very solid the last few seasons now. And then McClung, that guy, he's a baller. He's a baller.
He is definitely a baller. I think, just like I think you're happy if you're Gonzaga, I think you're happy if you're Baylor I think a potential Baylor Elite Eight, Baylor Ohio State, excuse me, in the Elite Eight is looking pretty good, I think.
That'd be a tough game, though, for Baylor. I like
be.
Gonzaga's Elite Eight matchup much more than if I'm Baylor.
I do too.
If it goes,
I think
if it goes,
if it went shock, I think Iowa's interesting to me. If Iowa gets hot, they are tough to beat. But again, I could see them totally bust. I could see Iowa totally busting and losing to Oregon in the round 32. They're really boomer bust to me.
They just haven't beaten any, at least lately, any teams enough consistently to the point that makes me think that they're gonna pull off a massive run in the tournament.
Who do you think? So potential rematches for Gonzaga include Kansas, Virginia, and Iowa. Which of those teams do you think could give Gonzaga the toughest game in a rematch?
I'd probably say Kansas. Kansas was starting to turn up a bit at the end of the year, especially if they do have to be healthy. They need to have their guys available to play. I just think that Kansas would probably give them the toughest game. And honestly, that's a game where I could see Kansas possibly, if they have a really good game like they did against Baylor, winning that game.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But I like Gonzaga to come out of that region. I think that they should feel confident, and I don't think that there's a real reason why they shouldn't if they keep playing the way that they have this year.
Well, we are into the Midwest region, and just like predicted, it's going pretty close to how most people predicted. Illinois is the 1 seed in the Midwest region, which will be playing on Friday, and they will be taking on Drexel, which was a surprise team to the tournament this year. A surprise. Obviously, they got the auto bid, but they made an upset run through the conference tournament. So good for them to get to the tournament. There's the 8 seed that we talked about a few times, Loyola Chicago, out of the Missouri Valley.
Mm-hmm.
They're 24-4.
Team to watch out for.
That's a team to watch.
I know they're playing Illinois. But...
Yeah. And that is assuming they beat Georgia Tech, who just won the ACC tournament. That is a heck of a game.
Ooh, that actually might be. I think that's my favorite matchup that I've heard so far. I want to watch that.
That's a heck of a game. And again, this region playing on Friday, just like the South region. The 5 seed in the Midwest region is Tennessee, out of the SEC. And there is our last Pac-12 team. The Oregon State Beavers, champions of the Pac-12 tournament, will be taking on Tennessee out of the SEC. That's a good game. Interesting.
That's a good game.
Oklahoma State is the 4 seed in this tournament. That surprises me. That really surprises me. Potential OSU versus OSU round of 32 matchup there.
Yeah, I would definitely take OSU to win that game.
Now, OSU does not have a gimme. They will be playing Liberty out of the Atlantic Sun.
Wow, that's a tough 4-5, 12-13.
That's a really good slate there. The 6 seed will be San Diego State, champions of the Mountain West. And now let's see who this 11 seed is. We'll see. They will play. They're forever for some reason. Guess they're really breaking down San Diego State here. They are taking on Syracuse out of the ACC. Oh,
Syracuse did make it in.
Syracuse makes it in. Will take on San Diego State.
Yeah. So does this mean UCLA is the one out, possibly?
We'll see. There's still 11 seeds on the other side with the play-in, the first round.
So right now you probably have UCLA, St. Louis,
maybe Colorado State sweating it out.
Colorado State. I don't know if Memphis was that close to being on the bubble. I thought that they were a little further down. I don't think
they were much. Number 3 seed. This is interesting. West Virginia. West Virginia always. I think they're both upset prone and deep run prone, depending on which version of West Virginia we get. They'll be taking on Morehead State. So I definitely see West Virginia to at least the Sweet 16 there.
Yeah,
I don't think that. I think that's a fairly favorable draw for West Virginia. Actually, might take Syracuse over San Diego State. They always seem to win a game. The 7th seed will be Clemson out of the ACC.
I think they're overrated. I'm not big on Clemson.
Agreed. I think the ACC overall is just not great this year.
It's
They'll be
not.
taken on out of the Big Ten Rutgers as a 10 seed.
Ugh, those are both. I think both those teams are massively overrated.
Yeah, that game might be a bit of. Hopefully, it's entertaining. Might be a bit of a clunker. There's the 2 seed out of the American Conference, the champs, the Houston Cougars, who absolutely destroyed Cincinnati in the American Championship today.
Yeah, Houston has a cakewalk to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and they will take on Cleveland State.
Yeah, that's a cakewalk.
I think this region goes very chalk.
Really, I think that this region is very difficult, and I'm not thrilled if you're Illinois. That is a difficult region.
I would clarify to say that I think this goes very chalk to the Sweet 16. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Man, but Illinois versus Oklahoma State, that would be
Illinois, Oklahoma State, and then Houston against West Virginia. That's a very entertaining Sweet 16
That is
draw.
a really good Sweet 16 and Elite 8. I honestly hope it goes chalk because I kind of want to see that happen.
I do too, but again, that 5-12, 4-13 set in that region is really interesting because I think Oklahoma State does beat Liberty, but that's no pushover. Liberty is no pushover.
No, they're no pushover. And
I think I take Oregon State over Tennessee with how on fire they are right now.
Yeah, I'd have to look in a little bit more into Tennessee before I say for sure, to be quite honest. But off the top of my head, from what I've seen from Tennessee, are they going to have Fulkerson playing? Because I know he had that facial injury.
Good question. I'll have to look into
yesterday.
I'll have to look into that. This coupled with the 8-9 matchup being Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech, this is far and away the most interesting region so far. This is a fascinating region.
Fascinating region in Illinois, man. Whoever wins this region is going to have earned it. That's for sure.
Yes, that's for sure. And I'm not sure where I go at this point. I'll be honest. I think Illinois is the best team, but the best team at the end of the regular season. It's not always the case in the tournament. You never know what's going to happen. We've got one more region to go. Michigan's is probably the 1 seed in this final region, but
yeah,
we'll see. As it's still in commercial.
What was the full rundown on this side?
So we had, I'm going to have to pull it up again. We had Illinois as the 1 seed. Obviously, they would be taking on, oh gosh, who were they playing? I think Drexel was who they were playing.
Yeah, it was Drexel.
And then, here we go. Illinois, Drexel in the 1 versus 16, Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech in the 8-9, like we mentioned, Tennessee, Oregon State in the 5 versus 12, Oklahoma State versus Liberty in the 4-13. And then San Diego State, Syracuse, 6-11, West Virginia, Morehead State, 3-11, Clemson, Rutgers in the 7-10, and Houston, Cleveland State to wrap that region up. Absolutely stacked region. That's going to be a lot. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Very entertaining region. Almost all the way outside of that Clemson Rutgers farce. That's a very good region.
Totally agree. And we now know where all 4 of our Northwest teams are going to be, so we can even start breaking that down a little bit as we come up pretty close on this last region being revealed. Really, the Pac-12 intrigue here is we haven't seen Colorado yet. And what about UCLA?
No
are they sweating a little bit? I still think UCLA is probably in, but we'll see, man.
I would be.
I'd be a little nervous if I were there.
I don't know. I would be sweating. I mean, I would think that they had a good enough resume this year, but I don't think that it's a guarantee at this point, especially with some of the other teams who've gotten in who are on the bubble.
No
so
let's see. They're back from commercial, and Michigan is, as predicted, the last number 1 seed. So if so that leaves the 4 1 seeds, like most people thought: Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, Michigan.
Yeah, no surprises there.
Yeah. This region will play on Saturday, just like the Gonzaga's West region. This is the East region that Michigan will be the 1 seed of. They'll be taking on the winner of Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern.
Okay.
And then, it's always fun for those teams. Mount St. Mary's only 12-10 this year. It's fun for those teams to even get in. It's a pretty big accomplishment. Same for Texas Southern. I think they're out of the SWAC, I think.
Yes.
The 8th seed will be LSU, who lost a crazy game today to Alabama in the SEC championship. That was a heck of a finish. LSU.
That was a heck of a finish.
In and out on a potential game-winning follow shot. But they'll be the 8th seed in the East region.
Speaking of, Alabama's going to be the 2 seed in this region.
It's looking like it. They must have gotten the number 5 overall. And they'll be taking on the Atlantic 10 champion, St. Bonaventure. There's a good game for you. LSU St. Bonaventure. A lot of good 8-9 matchups.
That's a tough matchup for Michigan in the second round, especially
totally
without
agree.
Livers.
And there is Colorado. Colorado gets a 5 seed.
How does Oregon get a 7 seed when they win their regular season championship?
I don't know. Now, there is an interesting game. There is the Big East champion Georgetown Hoyas to take on Colorado as a 12 seed. That's a good game.
Yeah, that is a good game. As a Pac-12 fan, that seems like the type of game that a Pac-12 team would lose.
That's true.
Yeah.
The 4 seed will be Florida State. One of the better teams in the ACC this year. That's so interesting that we're not going to get a ACC team higher than a 4 seed this year.
No.
Really down year.
Very down
Florida
year.
State. And they will be taking on UNC Greensboro. So I probably like Florida State to the Sweet 16 there.
Yeah. Florida State has
Here
a lot
we
of talent on
go.
their team.
6 seed BYU, the second WCC team.
Okay.
Gets in as a 6 seed, 20-6. Another good year for BYU. They really have a solid program going down there. And here, let's see who the 11 matchup is. This is where it's interesting. Michigan State and UCLA are the last 2 11 seeds. So Michigan State was very much on the bubble, as was UCLA for the committee.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Wow.
So
that is interesting.
That likely leaves out Colorado State. That likely leaves
out. I had seen Maryland in the first the buys, first 4 buys, and they're probably not going to get in
unless they get the 10 seed here. We'll see.
They could get the 10. I don't think they had as good of a resume.
Man, Michigan State being in the last 4 is really interesting to me. The 3 seed there, we haven't heard their name yet out of the Big 12 is Texas. So Texas does get the 3 seed. So that Big 12 championship ended up really favoring Texas quite a bit.
Yeah, it did.
In terms of seeding. They'll be taking on Abilene Christian.
Going back to that 11 seed matchup, though, I think that might be the most blue blood first 4 game that we've ever seen.
That's crazy. Started. That is a crazy first 4 game.
Yeah, talk about 2 major blue bloods in there.
No kidding. UConn gets a 7 seed in this region. Pretty solid season for UConn. And they will be, there's Maryland as the 10 seed.
Oh,
Maryland gets in as a 10.
All right.
So Maryland got in comfortably.
That's interesting.
And there, as predicted, is State. Alabama, SEC champions, and they get the top 2 seed. That means the committee considers them the 5th best team in the country right now.
Interesting.
And they will be
I don't know if I agree with that, but
yeah, we'll see. And they will be taking on Iona, Rick Pitino's team. Out of the MAAC. That's how you say it. I don't know. So that reveals the full bracket. Gosh, that is interesting. Well, here's a conference breakdown. The Pac-12 does get 5 teams in, even though UCLA had to really sweat it out.
That's a tough matchup too for them. I would probably slightly favor Michigan State, but I mean they did just get destroyed by Maryland, so
yeah, it's true. First 4 teams out: Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss. So those will be the teams on standby for potential replacements, but Louisville was left out. They were the first team out.
Wow, that's interesting because I had seen everybody was thinking Louisville was going to get in. So I find it
And
interesting that they favored some of those Mountain West and Wichita State team over.
yeah, the Utah State and Wichita State get in over Louisville, and yeah, over Colorado State. St. Louis
I
doesn't
think
get
that
in.
the bracket, though, just seeing where Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson were all ranked, North Carolina as well. The committee didn't really respect the ACC this year, which I think
It
went
doesn't
a
look like
lot
it.
into their decision to keep out. Yeah,
Agreed. They're showing now the last four in. The last team in was Drake. First team out was
Drake was.
Louisville. So Michigan State and UCLA and Wichita State in that order, and then Drake for the last four in.
I'm glad that they kept Drake in because I believe that they're supposed to get their top scorer who they've had out for the last few weeks. I believe that he's supposed to come back for the tournament. So we could see more of a resemblance of the Drake team from earlier this year that was very dominant.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a few minutes here to now that we know where all four PNW teams are, let's break that down a little bit. We'll start off with Gonzaga, who will take on the winner of Norfolk State Appalachian State. Just looking at a whole, we talked about Gonzaga's region a little bit, and it's all going to be rematches past if everything were to go chalk. I think you're pretty happy if you're Gonzaga with that draw. Touched on a little earlier in the show, but
yeah,
I think I definitely like Gonzaga to the Final Four there.
Yeah, I think that the committee respected Gonzaga as the number one overall seed, and I think that it showed just in who they got drawn as the 2 seed, the 3 seed, compared to Illinois, especially, and then Michigan as well. I think Gonzaga has the easiest route to the lead or to the Final Four. My apologies. What are your kind of thoughts overall on that?
Yeah, I think I see them taking on Virginia in the Sweet 16. I think Kansas and Iowa is somewhat of a toss-up for a potential Elite Eight matchup. Now, that is assuming that Iowa can get back who I think will be Oregon. I think Oregon will beat VCU. But that kind of leads me into talking about the Ducks a little bit. That's a really interesting potential upset scenario for the Ducks. Now, they don't have the size to contend with Garza, but their perimeter defense is really good, which means they could, against Iowa shooting, that's a fascinating matchup to me.
Yeah, I think it's a very fascinating matchup. Oregon's shown they have athletes in Figueroa, Chris Duarte, Eugene Amarui. I think Oregon's got the forwards to the point where they could take advantage of the rest of Iowa's team as long as they can keep Garza from going too crazy. And as long as they're hitting their shots too. Oregon needs to do a better job of running their offense than as they did in their last game in conference tournament against Oregon State. If they can, though, and from what they've shown over the last month up until their loss, I don't see a reason why they can't beat VCU and at least have a 50-50 toss-up with Iowa. I don't think that that's an unreasonable assumption there.
Who do you think you'd pick to win a potential Iowa-Oregon? Would you still take Iowa in that?
I just don't think Iowa. I think Iowa's been super overrated all year. I honestly, if Oregon plays the way that they have been for 12 of their past 13 games, I think Oregon wins it. And I'm not just saying that as an Oregon homer. I genuinely think that they very well could. I just don't think Iowa's that great or as great as maybe some people think they are.
Yeah.
Then that's a lot based off the eye test injuries that they've had.
And then that same Iowa, Oregon.
Yeah.
I think just because Oregon doesn't have anyone that can guard Luka Garza, I think I give Iowa the slight edge there. Garza's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if Oregon's perimeter defense and Iowa shooters kind of cancel each other out, I mean, Garza can still go win that game. I think that'd be a great game, though.
Oh, for sure.
And it's interesting to see Kansas play Eastern Washington. That'll be really fun. I'm also curious to start seeing. I'm interested to see where, what times some of these games are at. Let's see if we've got that already locked in or not. And again, going back to Gonzaga, first time since 2015, a team's entered the tournament undefeated, and a team hasn't won it since 1977. So it's not easy, but ESPN does not have it up yet. We'll try and get some of those. We'll update if that. I'm gonna step away here from the mic for a second and turn the background sound to the selection show, so we can get a little more analysis going here for our Pacific Northwest teams. Again, 3 of them are in the West region, being Gonzaga, Eastern Washington, and Oregon.
I think some
I
other
really am interested in
interesting.
that Oregon State
I'm
game.
curious to see.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the Oregon State's going to be interesting. I was just going to say, I'm curious to see if USC can do anything. If Drake does get healthy, I do actually see them. I think Drake will beat Wichita State either way in the first 4 round. I'll be curious to see if they beat SoCal. And if SoCal does beat Drake, though, if they could match up with Kansas, Evan Mobley playing up against a possible Kansas team that doesn't have David McCormick, I think that could be a possible mismatch there for Kansas. Obviously, I would take Kansas, but
yeah, and that would clear out Kansas for Gonzaga if USC is able to do that. I'm curious if you're able to log in now to the men's tournament challenge on ESPN. Again, feel free to look us up. I'm going to go onto social. Kendall, do you want to put that into our live YouTube chat?
Yes, it does look like that. It's saying there is 1 hour and 14 minutes left. There's a countdown, a clock going on it, unfortunately, for the fill out bracket.
Gotcha. Well, tell you what, let's hop off live and then we'll what do you think? Should we just wrap it up then?
I think that we should still go down some of the teams. Just for anybody tuning in, we were gonna fill out a bracket, but unfortunately ESPN is an hour delayed. They have a running clock on here. So let's just run down a few of the matchups that we like. I think that we've talked about our Pac-12 teams enough. Just kind of give a little wrap up though on some other interesting matchups that we see in maybe some upsets that we like.
Absolutely. Man, that Loyola Chicago Georgia Tech game is really awesome to me.
Yeah,
that's super interesting. 2 champions, 2 league champions, Georgia Tech and the ACC. I'm a little surprised Georgia Tech wasn't actually a little higher, but like you mentioned, it seems like the committee just really didn't give much clout to the ACC this year, which is interesting because the ACC always gets, so much love almost for seemingly no reason. But I'm also curious.
They didn't.
I'm keeping my eye out to see if times for the games are released yet for at least some of our local teams here. Got a couple Gonzaga guys and Eastern guys. I'm refreshing their feeds on the minute. For some Gonzaga, Eastern.
Looking over that Midwest region, that is a very intriguing region. I think Houston honestly has an easier path than Illinois does off the top. I do like Houston making the Sweet 16 over, I don't know who I pick between Clemson or Rutgers, probably Clemson.
Sure.
I think West Virginia will beat Morehead State. I would like Syracuse. I like Syracuse to beat San Diego State. I think that the San Diego State's fairly overrated and Syracuse is just well coached. Man, Oklahoma State, Liberty, and Tennessee, Oregon State, those are 2 very good games.
Agreed. And what's interesting here, Dick Vitale makes a note on Twitter, 23 of the 68 teams this year were from the Big 10, Big 12, and ACC. Now here's the first 4 schedule coming out. So it looks like actually live will get some. So obviously all 4 of those games will be on Thursday beginning at 2:00. Norfolk State, Appalachian State. We're still pending on seeing what times. We know Gonzaga, Oregon, and Eastern Washington will play on Friday. And then if any of those teams win Sunday for the round of 32. And we know that Oregon State will play on Saturday. And then if they're able to not upset, why am I blanking on who they're playing? Man,
I apologize. I'm sorry. I was trying to look for a live bracket. Who are you? Which team are you looking for?
Yeah, Tennessee. I totally spaced on who Oregon State was playing. But if Oregon State is able to knock off Tennessee, they would play Monday in the round of 32 against probably Oklahoma State. Although Oklahoma State, again, Liberty's not the easiest matchup in the world.
No, that's a possible look-ahead game for Oklahoma State if they get caught.
If they don't get up.
Okay. Who do you like in the Final Four?
Great question. I like Gonzaga out of the West for sure.
Yeah.
I think I still like Baylor. I kind of might go a little off the grid here, and I wonder about West Virginia or Texas, just because of their draw. I think I would take Texas over Alabama, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So then you're kind of picking them against more than likely either a Florida State or a Michigan. Although, man, I think Michigan could get beat by LSU or St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, I do too. I very much do too.
I think Michigan, if Livers is out, I think Michigan's on upset alert in round 2. And I can't really say that about any of the other 3 teams. Well, I don't think Illinois or Baylor have it easy. I just think that they're better than Michigan. And I think LSU and St. Bonnie are pretty good for an 8 and 9 seed.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to screen share to a printable bracket. We're not able to do the ESPN right now, but maybe I'll just jot down who we have as we go along and we can do our starters bracket the old fashioned way.
Let's do it with pen and paper.
Pen and paper it. Let me screen share real quick. And then this, of course, will not be Kendall and my individual brackets. Can you see this okay, Kendall?
Yeah, I could see it good.
Okay. So there's a look at the bracket. This is off of the NCAA Direct, so you know it's accurate. So let's just go down through. This is, again, the starters bracket. This will be what Kendall and I can most agree on, although there will be individual brackets that Kendall and I will do and put in our ESPN tournament challenge that will obviously look a little different because Kendall and I are not the same person. Hey, let's go through the first 4. Who we got? Norfolk State, Appalachian State.
Well, based off all my analysis, which is about none on these teams, I'm going to go with Appalachian State because their football team's good. So
fair enough. I'll take it, even though I'm probably going to take Norfolk State myself, but you know what? I'll take it. You said you take Drake over Wichita State. I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
So we'll put in Drake for ours. We'll put Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern, just based off record. I think I'll take Texas Southern. I don't know if you disagree or not. 16-8 versus 12-10 for Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I agree with you. I think I would take Michigan State over UCLA.
That's gonna be a fun game, though.
That is a fun.
I think it could be honestly I think it's gonna be kind of a very defensive grinding type game, but I think it'll be good.
Agreed. Now, moving on to the round of 32, we'll obviously take Gonzaga over Appalachian State. Oklahoma, Missouri.
Round of 64.
I think I would take Missouri over Oklahoma. What about you?
I would probably take Oklahoma over Missouri, but honestly, I don't have enough of enough conviction about it either way. So
yeah, I'll just write it down as a wash because we're not going to pick Gonzaga to lose to either of those teams.
No.
Creighton, UC Santa Barbara. What are your thoughts on that one?
Man, like you said, Creighton just between the controversy that happened with the coach and then just not showing up at all for their game against Georgetown. That doesn't leave me confident for them heading into there. I could see it. Who are you leaning towards?
I'm kind of feeling the upset in that one too.
Yeah, I'm feeling an upset there.
Virginia and Ohio. I think I'd take Virginia there if we're being completely honest.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to see my Bobcats make a run to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. You mentioned USC against who we've projected Drake. I think that's interesting. I think I take USC there.
Yeah, I think it could go either way. The Pac-12 just does not perform well in tournament time, but they do have Evan Mobley. Both Mobley brothers. I think that USC would get it done.
And as much as I hate to say it, I probably do take Kansas over Eastern Washington. As much as I sincerely hope for that not to be the case.
You're just trying not to psych it out right now. You got to pick the opposite way.
Yeah, I know we both would take Oregon over VCU, and I know we would take Iowa over Grand Canyon.
Although Iowa would be the team to lose to a 15 seed.
Yeah, maybe they would. And then moving down onto the round of 32 in the West region, like I mentioned before, we'll take Gonzaga over Oklahoma. Santa Barbara, if they beat Creighton, I don't see them beating Virginia personally. No. What about you?
Nah, Virginia's too well coached.
USC Kansas is really interesting. I still probably lean toward Kansas in that, just based off coaching a little bit.
Yeah, I lean towards Kansas, but that'd be a good game. That'd be a really fun game.
Oregon, Iowa. We kind of go back and forth on this a little bit. Where are we thinking Iowa, Oregon, if we're being honest?
If I'm being, I genuinely think Oregon could beat Iowa. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Let's do it then. Let's put Iowa down for that bracket, or Oregon down for that bracket. Sorry, I spoke. So that leaves Sweet 16 matchup of Gonzaga and Virginia, which I think we both know where we'd head there. That's, I think, another Gonzaga win.
Zags.
Kansas and Oregon, again, really interesting. I think I take Kansas there.
I would probably lean Kansas slightly, although I think Oregon could beat them.
Yeah, and then that leaves an Elite Eight rematch of the season opener of Gonzaga, Kansas, and I think we would both take Gonzaga there.
Yeah, although Gonzaga would have to be careful for that game.
They would have to be careful. Now, moving on to the East region, we would both obviously take we both take Michigan over Texas Southern.
Yeah.
Who do we like? LSU St. Bonaventure. That is a fascinating game. I maybe lean St. Bonaventure, but
yeah, I really like the way that they look. I honestly, that was my first time watching them all season, but teams out of that conference have always competed well in the tournament, and St. Bonaventure looks very athletic. And I forgot his name, but their center inside was dominant against VCU.
Yeah, he was awesome. Now, Colorado Georgetown fascinates me quite a bit. I think I like Colorado. I think.
Yeah, McKinley, right? A lot of experience, senior guard, but one of the best players in Pac-12 history, as stated about 1,000 times by Bill Walton last night. Yeah, I'd probably lean Colorado, although I wouldn't be surprised if Georgetown won.
Agreed. And then I would take Florida State over UNC Greensboro. BYU against Michigan State is a fascinating game. I kind of lean Michigan State there.
Yeah, I lean Michigan State.
And then I would take Texas over Abilene Christian.
Mm-hmm.
UConn, Maryland. I'd probably take UConn.
Yeah, UConn, definitely.
And then we'd have Alabama over Iona. A potential round of 32. I just misspelled Alabama in my notes. That's embarrassing. This is a really interesting one, like you're talking about. Round of 32, Michigan and St. Bonaventure. That is really, really interesting. Should we go for it?
I think we should go for it.
Let's go for it. We'll take the massive upset there. We'll take St. Bonaventure over Michigan. Although I think that does change.
We have to look like idiots somewhere.
We do, exactly.
Yeah.
Colorado, Florida State, I think Colorado has a tough game with Georgetown. I actually like them over Florida State, though. If they...
Okay. All right. We'll go with that. I'd probably say Florida State just because I like the athleticism on Florida State. I think they've got some good leadership, but so is Colorado. And I think Colorado's played good enough and they've got size underneath. So
yeah, we'll put in Colorado tentatively. Michigan State, Texas is a really interesting game. I think I like Texas there.
Yeah. Michigan State's been too inconsistent, but
and then
they could turn it up.
UConn, Alabama. I still do like Alabama in that, I think.
Yeah.
Sweet 16 here. Based off our starters bracket, I'm sure we're going to get flamed for picking St. Bonaventure over Michigan. Yeah, we have to go crazy upset somewhere. You take St. Bonaventure or Colorado?
Man, if St. Bonnie's already winning like that.
I know. I'm kind of thinking St. Bonaventure too there.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't know anything about St. Bonaventure, and now I'm picking them to the Elite Eight. Let's go.
Yep, that's the way it goes, And then a really interesting matchup of Texas and Alabama. I think I like Texas there.
I think I like Texas as well. I'm with you. I think Alabama's a bit overranked, so I'd go Texas.
So how about a St. Bonaventure Texas Elite Eight? I know. I think this might be where the magic ends.
I think this is where the magic for the Bonnies end.
I think it
was a good run, though.
So after all that, we've actually got Texas in the Final Four, interestingly enough, which I would not have projected before seeing the brackets, but that's why you wait to see the brackets.
That's why you wait to see the brackets, and that's the way that the pin goes. So
exactly. Well, we'd both take Baylor over Hartford over in the South region. Carolina, Wisconsin, I think is a great game. I think I favor Carolina a bit.
Yeah, I would too.
Villanova, Winthrop. I know where I'm going there.
We'll go with Winthrop. I think the way that I feel about Villanova is the way that you felt about Virginia on the other side. I think they're just too well coached. But you know what? For the sake of it, let's just go Winthrop.
Fair enough. Now, Purdue, North Texas, I think I like Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue.
Texas Tech, Utah State is interesting, but I think I do like Texas Tech there. How about you?
I like Texas Tech too. Utah State hasn't played enough teams to really give me an indication that they're going to pull off an upset like that.
And I do like Arkansas over Colgate.
Yeah, same.
How about Florida, Virginia Tech? I maybe lean Virginia Tech a little bit.
Yeah, I would probably lean Virginia Tech. I don't think either of these teams are that good.
Agreed.
Pretty milquetoast, honestly.
And then we obviously take Ohio State over Oral Roberts. So that sets up another interesting round of 32, 1-8 matchup of Baylor. Well, I guess St. Bonaventure's a 9 seed, but of Baylor, North Carolina. I like Baylor there.
Baylor, yeah.
And Winthrop, Purdue. I think I like Purdue there.
Yeah, I like Purdue. Purdue's played good down the stretch of the season.
Texas Tech, Arkansas. That's an interesting one. Where do you go there?
I don't know quite enough about these teams. I'd probably lean Texas Tech, though.
I think I would too. And then I'd take Ohio State over Virginia Tech for sure.
Yeah.
Excuse
me.
Sweet 16, Baylor, Purdue. I actually think that I honestly could see that kind of being a blowout. I think Baylor would win that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I agree.
Texas Tech, Ohio State is another. I think Ohio State would just be too overpowering for Texas Tech personally.
Yep.
So that sets up an interesting chalk matchup of Ohio State Baylor. Very interesting game.
That's a tough game. That's not a guarantee. I think I'd lean Baylor, but I definitely think Ohio State's good enough to win that. I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State won it.
I think I'd take Baylor a little bit too. And then that leaves one more region. That is the Midwest. We'd take Illinois over Drexel for sure. Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech is an awesome game.
That's a tough one to pick. I think I'd lean just slightly towards Loyola just since they have that tournament experience on their team.
Agreed. Now, how about Tennessee, Oregon State? I think I have to.
Oregon State.
I think I'd go Oregon State, but
my heart says Oregon State. I like the way that they played these last 3 days. They looked like the type of team that makes those type of runs in the tournament. So let's go Oregon State.
You have to follow your heart when you're filling out your bracket because you all know it's going to be wrong anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
As much as I think Liberty could challenge Oklahoma State, I think I take Oklahoma State there.
Yeah, I agree.
How about San Diego State, Syracuse? I might like Syracuse there.
Yeah, I like Syracuse there too. They consistently are on the bubble, it seems like every year, and they prove themselves in the tournament time. They usually make a good run, so I'll take them over San Diego State.
I think we'd both take West Virginia over Morehead State. Clemson, Rutgers, honestly, who cares? Let's just put one down. How about Clemson because they're the 7th seed?
Yeah.
And then
sounds nice.
We'd take Houston over Cleveland State. Second round, how about Illinois and Loyola Chicago? Fascinating game. I think Illinois is just a little too athletic.
Yeah, Illinois is a little too athletic, but I think Loyola, the way that they slow down the game, they've got a really good center. That would be now. I was just retold how to pronounce his name. Coburn. Yes.
Yeah.
Coburn against Krutwig down below would be a really interesting center matchup.
Yeah, it certainly would be. How about OSU against OSU? Oregon State, Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State takes that one.
Yeah, probably.
Syracuse, West Virginia, and what would probably be the most low-scoring game in tournament history. I think I like West Virginia a little more.
I like West Virginia, but with that being said, the way Syracuse plays, I think that they could beat them. But West Virginia's been really good this year, so.
And I would take Houston over Clemson. I think you would too.
Yeah.
So you got Illinois, Oklahoma State in a heck of a Sweet 16 matchup.
Wow, that's a really good game.
Gosh. I just think Illinois might be a little bit better. I mean, I think they are better, but I think in the matchup.
Man, yeah. Man, I would not be surprised though if Oklahoma State won that at all. I mean, they just beat Baylor a couple nights ago. But let's go. Illinois is playing really, really good ball right now, and they are extremely talented. So
right. And then West Virginia, Houston, another heck of a Sweet 16.
Houston, West Virginia. These are tough.
These are tough ones. I really like the way Houston played today.
Houston's really good. They've got a lot of I think that they might be a little bit more consistent than West Virginia has shown to be this year. So I'd agree with that.
And then a heck of an Elite Eight, Illinois, Houston. I actually think I'd take Illinois in that matchup.
I would take Illinois.
So we've gone 3 1 seeds and then Texas in the Final Four. So how about a Gonzaga Texas Final Four game? I think we'd both take Gonzaga in that.
Yeah, I would take Gonzaga.
And then what would possibly be the game of the year, Baylor, Illinois. They actually played a Final Four.
They played earlier this year too.
They did, yeah. Baylor beat them pretty good, but
yeah, Illinois is playing much better basketball at this point. God,
that game might be a toss-up. That might be a toss-up. Flip a coin.
I feel like ever since the game got canceled, Baylor and Gonzaga has just kind of been destiny. So I'd probably go Baylor, but
I'll second that. So the game everyone's been waiting for all season, national championship in our starters bracket, Gonzaga Baylor. Are we really going to pick against the Zags?
No,
we're not.
we got to be Homer somewhat.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not exactly a strictly Homer move to pick the team that hasn't lost a game. So,
I think that there would be some matchup problems for Gonzaga. I do worry a little bit about the length of Baylor, and Gonzaga would have to be rotating out and guarding that 3 ball so that Teague and Butler don't get going.
Absolutely.
This just feels like Gonzaga's year. This has been the best setup. I mean, even just their region setting up the way it has, I just think that it's just set up for them this year.
I completely agree, honestly. Well, that will probably put an end to this live stream today. Again, we've got Gonzaga taking in the 1 seed in the West region. You've got Eastern Washington taking on Kansas, Oregon taking on VCU on Friday, and then Oregon State taking on Tennessee on Saturday. Make sure, if you're listening, to go ahead and join our Y Ball Starters podcast. ESPN Tournament Challenge group when that goes live. I will be putting that link on all our social medias. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Y Ball Starters. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and check us out on Spotify too. All of that's at Y Ball Starters. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone who tuned in and asked questions. Looking forward to the tournament, and have a great night.